couple weeks ago here, we had the big missile scare, the missile alert. I was laying in bed. We had big surf that weekend. My phone went off. I thought it was just another big surf warning till I rolled over and saw, what? Missile alert, ballistic incoming. Hey, that doesn't matter. You know what really matters? You know what the real alert is? There's no bees. With no bees, there's no food. We're an island in the middle of the ocean. We have to take care of ourselves and feed ourselves. We must sustain the bees because without the bees, there's no food. I can tell right here, it's getting smaller and smaller harvests, as I'm sure everyone around the island will tell you. But we need to proliferate the bees.
So without the bees, you know, we used to have about 25 hives. And we had a big storm, we lost 23, then we had 2 or 3 hives. And the last couple of years, because we have this beetle that came in, now we have no hives at all. So we went from 12 years ago having 25 hives, now we have no hives at all. So we have to stop, get rid of the beetles, and then try again. So as a result, usually, this is guava. We used to harvest about 50,000 pounds of this a year. This last year with no bees, we only got about 10,000 pounds. So we lost, you know, 40,000 pounds of guava. Same thing with the trees too. Usually we harvest about 100,000 pounds of fruit. This year I'm only 20,000 pounds because not as much bees. So the bees are really important to us here on Maui. So we're trying to figure out how to reintroduce the bees back to our farm again.
Here in Maui, a lot of bees, and there's conflict with people because bees decide to nest where people don't want them instead of nesting where they need to be, where the bees need to be, where bees are wanted, as well as this mindset that if you ask a lot of your little kids, what do bees do? The first thing they tell you is, they sting me.
Can you tell us what you like about the bees?
No.
No? Can you tell us what you like about the bees? No? Okay. Chemicals we're putting on the land through fertilizers and pesticides and fungicides. It's radiation, cell phone signals, all sorts of things like that that are contributing to the overall depletion of health on the planet.
We're blessed to have such wonderful bees here on Maui. They're strong and healthy, unlike many other places in the world. And we have a strong genome that hasn't been tinkered with too much. There's a very high density of feral bees here, and so it's easy to get started and it's easy to keep bees on Maui.
And so this is Maui honey, and it's a very, very interesting thing that I have found out with that. All my life I grew up knowing that if honey crystallizes, you should be if honey does not crystallize, you should be suspicious, because it usually means it's been heated up beyond a certain point so it doesn't crystallize, because some people still feel that it's bad honey if it crystallizes, which the opposite is true. Since I've been beekeeping on Maui at sea level, our honey doesn't crystallize, but I'm the one that harvests it. So I know I'm not tampering with it. It comes out of the hive into the bucket through a sieve. So I know we're not heating it up or anything, and still it doesn't crystallize. So I have never scientifically looked into it. My very crude explanation for this honey of ours is that maybe it's because it's a certain type of tropical flower they go to. Maybe it's just because it's warmer, so the ambient air temperature. And maybe it's a pollen thing. I have taken a jar of this though with me to Canada one time and had it there all winter, and it did then crystallize a little. It's crystallized. Yes, yeah. But it doesn't crystallize where we are, so it's probably ambient temperature. Interesting. Yes, very interesting. But the main thing, and what I think is fascinating is that every harvest is a different color. If I hold this up, this is more red, and this is more yellow. So every single harvest somehow is different. It depends on the flower they harvest. So yeah, it's fun beekeeping, but if you want to get into beekeeping, please do it knowing it's a lot of work and it's worth it. And we need lots more beekeepers and we need lots more education for people.
And it's really nice here being in Hawaii and in Maui because we don't have winter time. And what it means not to have winter is that the bees don't need a lot of honey stores. And so even when we come in, we always leave something for the bees anyway, but for the most part, they're consuming fresh food. So they're storing up for the long cold winter that never comes, which is the surplus that we get to take away from them. So they're really, they're sharing their surplus with us.
The biggest problem is the small hive beetle. And when people don't monitor their colonies and make sure they stay strong, what happens is the hive beetle, which is always in the hive, it is able to lay its eggs on honey, pollen, brood, and then the whole colony is lost. As long as the colony stays strong, there's no problem. But this again is the problem. A lot of people don't really monitor their colonies, which they should do. They should go in and check to make sure they are queen right and the queen is laying eggs and there's no problems. Otherwise the colony will quickly get weak and the hive beetle will take over.
The small hive beetles are no problem. You have to use the perithrin, which is indicated if you read about small hive beetles. That's what they tell you to do. With our kind of weather, it's simple. I haven't done it probably in a year. I haven't seen a small hive beetle. The minute I see a beetle, I'll do it. I don't want to use any more poison than I have to. You buy a little bottle of this stuff. You put a few drops in a gallon watering can, and you do that every 6 months or so, and that's all you have to do. Pour it in there. Yeah, and then somehow or another the larvae come out and they go into the ground, and this gets them, but it'll take, and all the little ants that you see going around here, it tends to get a lot of them also, but it's not fast. Perithrins are probably the least toxic of your insecticides. It's obviously toxic, it kills the larva, but it doesn't get in your honey or into the bees, so it doesn't seem to be a problem. You got to do something. Other people put traps and so forth, or put poison strips in their hives, and that seems like a lot of trouble to me, and especially when it's so easy this way. But having it built up like this allows me to do that safely.
There are some risks, like with the mites. There could be risks, and I think if you can get the bees populating that are already here populating on the island, because this is one of the few places in the United States that don't have mites, the one in the world.
We're very blessed here in Maui because so far we don't have the Varroa mite. And I say so far because it's likely at some point it's going to make its way over here, because it already exists on at least a couple of the Hawaiian islands. And really, it's kind of only a matter of time before it makes it over here.
Just experience. Yeah, I never went to school for anything related to apiary studies at all. I've done all of my own research, and I've learned everything just by interacting. And I think that's one of the best ways to learn. Learning by doing. Really get in there and build your own relationship with your hive. And I think that's also one of the main things that's going to help our bees, is by building that relationship. They are not separate from us.
Here in Maui, we don't currently have a beekeepers association. And most communities in the United States have beekeepers associations that bring together beekeepers to talk to each other, learn, understand what's going on, what the common problems are, what the common solutions are. And so there's a big need for some central organization around bees.
The system is fairly expensive. The other boxes are just standard boxes. But this box is probably, you'd have to look on the internet. I would say it's probably $300 or $400, for the box with the cut holes in it, which it's easier to have them cut the holes in there the right size. And then the plastic frames. And they work good. I didn't think I was suspicious and didn't think that they would, but they do. It makes beekeeping really simple.
I would highly recommend to people to buy honey that comes from multi-flowers, not monoculture. Monoculture, as in many other things, is not a good one, because monoculture means you have to use pesticides or you have to do stuff to fight whatever disease invades monoculture. Our valley grows everything. I have beautiful gingers growing. We have a banana plantation. We have about 25 avocado trees. We have papaya. I have a vegetable garden that grows all this turmeric and ginger and all that stuff. We have papaya, lots of papaya, and then of course all the weeds and all that kind of stuff have flowers as well. So the bees have a lot of nourishment. Our bees don't fly. They fly usually 3 or 4 miles.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why so many dead bees?
And I learned from someone living right close to where Monsanto had its experimental hives here on Kihei that every day they would clean many dead bees off of the bottom of the hive. And I was very disappointed about that. My former bookkeeper lived right next to the beehives and got to watch them scrape away the bees every day.
Monsanto is still working down here. They also work on Molokai and Kauai. Syngenta also is working. They do corn and soybean tests. There's a protocol for them to get a patent on their genetic engineering. They have to grow it a certain number of seasons, so they bring it here and grow it and they test it. They spray lots of different soups of chemicals that no one even knows what it's a completely uncharted territory. They're using Maui as a guinea pig, basically. Ruining the reefs. All that washes into the water.
I know that there are Monsanto test areas here. It's south towards Kihei there. I know that they use islands preferably, because if something goes wrong, then at least it's contained on the island, which makes it very nice for us islanders, because we don't know when things go wrong. We're not informed about it. I think they're plain evil. Yeah, it's pretty brutal what's being done.
My wife has ovarian cancer, and we've been dealing with that for the last year or so. I've been kind of, she has 9 more weeks of chemo. She's gone through 5 surgeries and 15 weeks of chemotherapy so far. So, yes, it takes away from doing other things. But she's a good egg, and she's got a good attitude, and I think it's going to come out okay after all the little hiccups.
One, 2.
What's this?
It's a bomb, chemistry bomb.
There is a road crew that's contracted by the state, I believe, or the county, to clean up the telephone lines and communication lines. And the story goes that the supervisor was in there cutting trees to keep the lines clear, and was stung a few times by the bees, and they attempted to poison them.
One of the more difficult things is finding good places to put bees because people are afraid of them. There's a lot of people that are worried about allergic reactions. So we generally place our bees on large parcels of land, such as Haleakala Ranch, or large parcels that people have. Many people want bees, but it's difficult to find locations where either the neighbors are comfortable or other situations. So that's a challenge. It's always a challenge finding good bee yards where we can keep the bees.
So today we're looking at our top bar hive. And the top bar hive is really cool because the bees build their comb a little bit more as you would see in nature. So rather than building inside of a box, they get to freely make their comb. You get these beautiful shapes. And this is all beeswax. There's no foundation, no plastic. It's a very natural way to keep bees. With the bees foraging really anywhere that they want. They fly up to 6 miles to collect their nectar, so they could be going to a neighbor farm that is spraying chemicals and pesticides even though you aren't doing it on your property, and that can certainly be a big issue. So honey is still very natural, and it's a natural antibiotic and antimicrobial, but it is an issue that the chemicals could be getting into the honey as well. Unfortunately, the bee does generally die after it stings you. Because of our skin, the stinger goes in and then they can't get it out. And they have kind of I believe it's a barbed stinger. And so unfortunately they pull away and they leave the stinger in you, and that's why you have to pull out the stinger.
There are a number of things people can do to support the bees here in Maui. One is keeping bees is a great way, and it's very low energy. Very low maintenance to keep a beehive happy and healthy, and you get the benefit of the honey that comes from it. You get the benefit of gifting honey to your neighbors and your friends when you go over, or selling it if you have enough of that. And you also get the benefit of just the intimate experience that comes from being with the bees. Beyond that, a great way to support the bees here on Maui is actually to buy local honey. First and foremost, a lot of honey that comes from other parts of the world has a lot of chemicals mixed into it that can be very dangerous both for the environment and the place that they come from, but also for our bodies. And supporting local farmers to keep bees can have a great impact on increasing the diversity of bees that we have here on the island. There are a number of beekeepers that can come to your home and collect swarms. They can open up your walls and take the bees out. One of the challenges of that is sometimes the economic cycle that comes along with that can be too expensive for people to actually engage in, and they'll choose instead to poison the bees. Poisoning the bees can often have a greater effect because those bees that are getting poisoned can infect other hives as well, in addition to poisoning the environment that you live in. One thing that's needed here on the island is actually some sponsorship towards a bee collective or bee organization that has a list of beekeepers that are willing to come and remove swarms at a low or nominal cost.
It used to be, 100 years ago, there were bees on every single farm. Every farmer had a stand of bees, and so they were much more a part of people's familiar world. Now people are very frightened of bees.